Obviously, it was Man United's worst ever Premier League defeat, particularly bad for the fans that it came against Liverpool, obviously. But do you feel that result has brought the club and Ten Hag back down to earth after the excitement of winning the Carabao Cup?
Yeah, I don't think you can get away from that. This is still the biggest game of the season, the biggest rivalry for any Man United player, and to lose in the manner that we lost is going to sting. Certainly for the fans, I'm sure the players. Ten Hag looked a bit nonplussed about how his team could capitulate in the way that they did, given all the plaudits that they've had of late, to go there and surrender the way that we did. It's like, seeing the old habits of last season, where we went a goal down and we looked as though we couldn't find a way back into the game. We didn't have the belief, the fight to go and scrap for a result. And yesterday, you have to say, was, there was players there that didn't respond and didn't fight and realise maybe what it meant to the fans. I don't know. It was a hard watch, and I didn't expect it. I mean, that first half, I thought we'd managed the game really well. We dealt with the early pressure. We looked as though we were starting to come into the game. We had chances. Give away a sloppy goal. And yet you're thinking we'll come out and have a fight and really have a go second half. We conceded the second one really early. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it was kind of like, it was a kind of a surrender. And listen, we can make excuses. They've had a lot of tough games lately. They've had a big game at Wembley last week that it took a lot out of them probably. And before that, the win against Barcelona. You can maybe look for excuses there.
Played midweek as well, didn't they, against West Ham in the FA Cup?
Yeah. I think the game there when we looked as though we were maybe going out of the competition. Yeah. And he's made changes. We found our way back into that game. But to lose 7, I mean, listen, I've been there. My third game, I think it was at Man United. We got beat 5-1 at Man City. That can't really happen. And you find yourself highly embarrassed. Can't wait for the next game to kind of put it right, and to erase that memory, you know what I mean? But you've got to live with it for a long time. I lived with that. I mean, I never lost another derby game in all my time I was at Man United, but I never stopped getting that chucked at me from wherever about, that 5-1 mauling. And it wasn't until we actually beat them 5-0 at Old Trafford, and I think it was 94 or 95, that they actually had some kinds of answers to fire back with, you know what I mean? So
it's going to take a while to live this one down, I feel. In the build-up, Klopp was saying, he was paying a lot of respect to Man United, saying that they're become a winning machine under Ten Hag. Do you think some of those comments maybe were taken the wrong way by Man United, and they were sort of just not prepared for the onslaught they were going to face?
No, I think they've earned the right to get the plaudits that sort of Klopp gave, because they have done. They've not always been at the best in games, but they've managed to find a way, and I think that's the spirit Ten Hag's brought to the club. There's more. If you ask any United fan, there's been more fight from United this season than there has been for quite a while, and I think the fans have responded to that. There's been a better feel around the club. You can, talk to the fans after games, and they're buzzing that finally we seem to be having a team that can compete, and that's a huge spanner in the works yesterday. But what Klopp said, I think, that United deserved them plaudits because they won a trophy. They They're in a Champions League spot. They're in the FA Cup. They're in the Europa Cup. I mean, that's probably finished the title aspirations yesterday. But yeah, they've been going great guns, and you know what I mean. It's not a small blip; it's a major blip. What's happened yesterday, and it's now going to be interesting to see how these players respond, because it's a big match on Thursday now.
Yeah,
against the Betis side. I think they've just drawn with Real Madrid. Did I see at the weekend?
Yeah.
So they're no mugs.
No.
That's going to be a tough battle as well. And players probably feel as though they owe the fans something. Because
do you think
that's going to stick for a long time, that result.
The fans will be obviously hurting today at school or at work, wherever they are. But do you feel like the psychological impact on the players will sort of take a while to heal from that?
Well, we'll find out on Thursday.
Yeah.
Listen, the games come thick and fast when you're fighting on all fronts like United are, and you don't get much chance for rest. It's not just the physical thing; it's the mental sort of side of thing as well. When you're thinking, oh my God, we've just been beat 7-0 off Liverpool. Now we've got a massive game in the Europa League, and where we're favourites to win the competition. Now we have to respond. I have to show these fans that is just one of them quirks. It's 7-0, it's embarrassing, but you know what I mean, don't forget the rest of the season, because the rest of the season's been pretty good. After the start, they've shown a lot of qualities. And yesterday it was kind of like old habits. Looking for leaders on the pitch, looking for people to stand up and scrap. I think they did it in the wrong way yesterday. You know what I mean? There's a lot of petulance out there on a pitch. Players testing the referee, possibly could have been sent off. And that's not one you want to see them fighting in the right ways. I understand the frustration, because that's a humiliation at your arch enemies. So, but it's got to be dealt with in the right way. It'll be interesting to see how they come out in the next game. What Ten Hag actually says, what he says in the next couple of days leading up to that game. I remember him running the team after an early season defeat, and he joined in the running with them, as it was kind of a punishment.
Yeah,
because he didn't run on the pitch.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what he says over the coming days.
You think from the team perspective, obviously individual performances, some of them weren't up to scratch. Lisandro Martinez he's getting a bit mugged off on social media from when Salah was running at him, and he just didn't seem to know what to do. Who would you kind of pick out as people that need to improve after that?
Listen, you can point a finger at a lot of players yesterday. I'm not talking. Listen, Martinez has been superb for Manchester United. He's brought a bit of backbone to the team. Mo Salah on his day is up there amongst the best players in the world, and he can embarrass anybody. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of players yesterday weren't at the races. Again, only in that second half. First half I thought we managed the game pretty well. To lose it 6-0 in the second half is, as a lot of people have said, and I'm sure Erik ten Hag is saying, is unforgivable. Where was the fight? Where was the leadership? Where was the determination to stop hemorrhaging goals like they did? So I'm not just. Martinez has been superb. He's brought a bit of backbone to that Manchester United side. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's this, that, because everybody or most players had a bad day at the office in that second half. So I'm not pointing the finger at one person. Varane didn't cover himself in glory. David De Gea be disappointed with some of the goals. Luke Shaw, who's been incredible this season, had probably one of his poorest games of the season. Casemiro giving the ball away. Bruno, not running back. He just quit on the ball at one stage during the game. And you're looking at it all, and you're going, wow, that was endemic of what was going on really last year and maybe the early part of the season. And he's tried to change the mentality of that. And he spoke about that, Erik ten Hag. He had to change that mentality in the dressing room into a team of winners. And we thought, and I still think to a large extent he's done that, and will continue to do that. That is a game that we're just going to have to put to bed now. Live with what's going to be the fallout of it all, and move on, because you don't become a bad team over one game. And we've got to take the positives from the rest of the season and the way that the team have been playing and being determined to get results.
Of course, now, they'll be looking to bounce back. You mentioned some of the petulance there. Gary Neville had some harsh words for Bruno Fernandes. Do you think there's a chance that Erik ten Hag might look to switch up the captaincy, give someone like Casemiro the role for the remainder of the season, or do you think he'll stick?
I think Casemiro's a captain in waiting. I think everybody's been impressed the way he's came in with his mentality of, obviously, that he's been used to at Real Madrid, that winning mentality that he has, that drive that you saw him pulling Bruno after the Wembley game and saying about the chance that we had in the last couple of minutes of why he didn't square it, and so that tells you something about the guy. Bruno, listen, he's been a magnificent buy for Manchester United, but yesterday you were looking at that and it didn't look good. Whether he was asking the question whether to be taken off by the manager, should never happen on a football pitch, especially when you're the captain. You go down with a sinking ship.
Yeah.
So listen, I don't know. That's for Ten Hag to decide. I think that's one of the problems Manchester United have had over a number of years. I don't think they've had leaders like I was fortunate enough to have when I was there, in Steve Bruce, in Brian Robson, in Roy Keane, in Paul Ince. These guys were warriors on a football pitch, and he's different to that. As Bruno, as is Harry Maguire. I don't think they've got that warrior mentality that the guys I played under maybe had. They do it differently. Listen, Casemiro, as I say, if he thought there needed to be a change, Casemiro, I'm sure would be first in line, because he's been magnificent and a huge part to why United have been successful this year.
That's right. So you think, going back to the start of the season, obviously the Brentford away performance, United took a lot of criticism after that. Do you think yesterday's performance was worse than that, on a par? I mean, it seems conceivable it could slip back into that role after so many positive defeats. But I mean, the second half was just an avalanche of goals. How did it get to that extent?
Yeah, I mean, listen, as I say, I've played in games. I remember playing against for Middlesbrough against an Arsenal side that was incredible, with Henry and what's his name there? The big lad.
Kanu.
Up front for them, and you know what I mean? This was that the invisible year or what? I can't remember now, but and we got beat 6-1 at Riverside, and like, wow, more goals are scored, the more confident they get, and the harder it was to stem the flow, and we capitulated, and it was like, wow, there's no worse place. So I've been on the end of that, you know what I mean, and it's not nice. Liverpool hit the heights that we expect of Liverpool yesterday, if not higher. It leaves you scratching your head as to why they've been as poor as they've been this season, when they've got that within themselves to play like that. Why? You can easily ask questions of them. Where's that form been all season? They just come on the end of their worst battering in Europe off Real Madrid, and yet they turn up and perform like that against Manchester United. I'm sure Jurgen's asking that question in the dressing room. But yeah, I think the Brentford won in a way, because you don't expect to get beat 7, no matter what. You don't expect to get beat 7 in the form that we were in. That's going to leave a lot of people looking in the mirror in that Manchester United dressing room, including the manager, because he won't have seen that coming from his players. Right. So,
if you'd been there, if you'd been alongside sort of Martinez and Diego Dallo, second half, you concede early, what would you have said to them? Would you have said, right, we need to damage limitation.
You're still in the game at 2-0 down. You're still in the game. You know, you need one goal and it makes them nervy. But you know, we got completely outplayed in that second half, and that was the worst point about it. That we, you know what I mean, we looked like a team that surrendered at Brentford. Now we thought we'd gone past that. Now, I mean, this team has showed so much guts and fight to dig victories out or get draws or whatever, and this is why they've had the backing of the fans and why you had Jurgen Klopp talking the way he was talking, because they just find a way. You know what I mean? They don't accept defeat. They don't accept that they're not going to score late on. And we've done it plenty of times this season. So that came right out of the blue. I think that shocked everybody. But in a way, you know, to get beat like they did at Brentford, that was too much for fans to bear at the time. Listen, because it's Liverpool, it's going to stick, as I said, a long time in the memory, and the hurt from that is going to be with both the players and the fans for a long time. They've got a chance on Thursday night to get a bit of redemption and say, look, that was a blip. As big as the blip it was, we're over it. We've still got the fight. We still think we're a good team. We still think we can go and qualify Champions League, maybe win another trophy this season. And then, you know, it goes somewhere to erasing that memory. But you've got to own it at the moment. You've got to live with that. You've got to accept that it's happened and move on. And I'm sure the manager will be reiterating that right now with the players. They'll have some kind of debrief today, and he'll talk to the players, and he'll let them know that, you know, that's not acceptable. And you know, I need to see a reaction from Thursday.
Well, that's what I was going to go on to there. You mentioned the top four, obviously Liverpool building momentum, sort of chasing Man United down, but Tottenham lost, Newcastle stuttering. Do you feel like top four is nailed on, or do you think there's an element of complacency that they need to be careful about now?
I don't think there's an element of complacency. I think it's been tight up there for quite a while. I mean, after the start of the season, we weren't even thinking Champions League. We were thinking, wow, where are we going to end up? You know, and we've got ourselves into that strong position. Listen, you know, Newcastle have got themselves into that situation. They're looking a bit toothless at the moment. Tottenham certainly looking toothless at what is going on there. There just seems to be a lot of negativity around Tottenham at this moment in time. You know, the manager's never out the headlines about whether he'll be there, whether he wants to stay, whether he thinks it's a project that he's that much in love with. I'm not so sure. The Harry Kane question doesn't go away. The style of football question doesn't go away. They've got a lot of negativity. If Liverpool play the way they play, and play the way that we know that they play, then you'd expect them to force their way into the Champions League spot, because on their day, they're capable of that. You know, we saw that in the first half against Real Madrid. Then we saw the worst of Liverpool in the second half. So yeah, I think it's open. That we've got a big point to prove now after that result, because I'm sure everybody else is looking at that and thinking, oh, you know, what effect is that now going to have on Manchester United? How does that dent the confidence? Have they really got the fight? Have they got momentum? You know, everything was going swimmingly, wasn't it, until the second half yesterday. So it's down to the players to prove that was just a blip.
Was obviously winning the Carabao Cup. Some might say it was papering over the cracks to an extent. It didn't really beat any true top opposition, beat Aston Villa, Burnley, Charlton, Nottingham Forest and Newcastle. Then a week later, getting done 7-0. Where do you go back from here then? Do you obviously still in the FA Cup, still in the Europa League and the league? So have United got the squads to be handling all these competitions the rest of the season?
Listen, I'm sure he'd like to add to the squad. I think most managers would say, if you asked Antonio Conte whether he'd like to add to the Tottenham squad, I'm sure he would. Mikel Arteta would love to add to the Arsenal squad, and you know what I mean. Newcastle, everybody would love to add the squad. Is the squad big enough at the moment for Manchester United? I would suggest maybe not, but it's a work in progress. He's only been at the club, 8 months, something like that. So we haven't seen, the completion of his work. I think in this summer, I think we'll see United heavily involved in the transfer market. The centre forward position is still an area of concern. He'd be looking to strengthen there, and he'd be looking to bring more quality in. We've got some exciting young players come through, i.e. Garnacho, but I still think, I'm sure he feels that he needs to strengthen that squad.
Well, Garnacho looks like a great talent, as does Anthony. Yesterday, however, he didn't really track back. He got a lot of criticism from Michael Richards as well. You feel like that's an element of his game he needs to work on?
Yeah, listen, wingers are generally like that. I remember Andre coming here and what do you mean track back? This is the Premier League, mate. This is what we expect. This is what your teammates expect, and it's kind of foreign to him. I don't know what role he played in his previous team or whether he was asked to do that, but he certainly has to do it here and help his fullback out. So, listen, I think he's got good work rate. He doesn't get bullied easily. He's got fight in him. We'd like to see more from him. I'd like to see him be able to use his right foot a bit more, get to the deadline. The dead ball line, sorry, and cross with his right, because everybody kind of knows he's going to cut in onto his left because he wants to bend him in the top corner. Listen, as I said yesterday, I'm not going to point the finger at any one individual yesterday because you're in it together, and it was kind of like they all look bewildered as to what they didn't see it coming. Fans didn't see it coming. Manager didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it coming yesterday, apart from maybe Graham Souness, who was saying Liverpool are going to get a reaction. Yeah, and he was spot on. They were up for the fight, and we were for 45 minutes, and the second 45 minutes we weren't.
Off the back of that, you'd imagine that, as you said, that United will be looking at the transfer window in the coming summer. But going back over the last 4 or 5 years, they've actually spent more as a net spend than Manchester City have, double almost. So do you feel that expectations should be higher than they are at the club at the moment, or they're just kind of cruising along?
Listen, there's always expectations at Manchester United. One of the biggest, if not the biggest club in the world. So you have to learn to live with expectation when you go there, whether you go there as a manager or as a player. You have expectation as a fan. So that's never going to change. Manchester City have, they've been a winning machine for a number of years now. They've quite possibly got the best manager in the world at the helm. So it's kind of seeming they're in a hell of a scrap now. For all all that they've done and all that they've had going for them, they're in a hell of a scrap with Arsenal. But yeah, listen, expectation is your bedmate there at Old Trafford. You have to live with that 24/7 because you're playing for big clubs. And as we saw before I got to Manchester United, 26 years without winning the title, just because you're the richest club and got the most money doesn't mean you're going to be at the top of the tree. You've got to, it's hard work. And I think they've got a manager who's as I said, has changed the mentality. Has changed that dressing room into a team that generally has a lot of fight and will scrap for points. We didn't see that yesterday. That was the worrying aspect of it all, that we could fall into our old habits and concede the game like we did. But expectations to bedfellow.
Yeah, I was going to say Marcus Rashford's obviously having an incredible season in front of goal. Do you think United have become a bit over-reliant on his goals this season?
it would appear that way because, we haven't got a centre forward who's going to get us 20 goals a season.
Yeah.
Marcus, I think, enjoys himself coming off the left-hand side. He's been put through the middle on occasion and has still delivered. But I think the best of Marcus you see off the left. So, yeah, I mean, once Cristiano left, brought Weghorst in to sort of help fill that role. So I think Martial will be playing if he's fit. He had a really good pre-season, and now we can't seem to get him on a pitch, which has been a body blow because, I think he offers a bit more. But I don't know. His body seems to be failing him at the moment, and he just can't get himself on a pitch. So we need to find a forward that is going to give us minutes, is going to give us goals, is going to give us something at the top of the pitch. That's a problem for defenders, and I'm sure he's working on it as we speak, because that's going to have to be done obviously in the transfer window or after the season finishes, and I'm sure he's got his staff looking at that. So
yeah. I mean, another pressing sort of issue at the club is Marcus Rashford's contract. After 2 kind of barren seasons, relatively, now he's back on fire. Do you feel he owes it to the club to sign a new contract?
Do I feel as though he owes it to the club? Listen, he's put himself in a position where there's a lot of people in Europe looking at him. He's been in his best form over the last 3-4 years. I think last season was a struggle for him, but I think he's owned it. I think he's looked at it. I think he's apparently went away and worked in the close season to get himself fitter and stronger. I think you see that in his game. He's done things away from football and sorted them out. I think there was too much going on in his life that maybe confused and clouded the waters a little bit, muddied the waters. But he's got his mindset right. He's one of the most dangerous forwards in Europe at present, and in the form of his life. So I wouldn't say he owes it. I think every Man United fan looking at the form he's in would like to see Marcus. Listen, my gut feeling is he will. That they can sort it out, and he would love to stay at Manchester United, and a part of that will be because he's seen the impact the manager's had as well, and he's obviously had a great impact on him personally. So be careful. Sometimes you might have ideas that the grass is greener on the other side, and maybe it's not. So he's a Manchester lad, and I think if the contract's sorted, he will sign it. And
I think you're right.
In that last in the form that he did. Sorry,
I was going to say, yeah, I think you're right. A lot of credit should go to Ten Hag for helping him.
Yeah, but I think he's obviously helped him, but I think it's also got to come from the individual as well. To sort of look at what was happening last year. He was part of that team that was a real struggle, and he's bought into what Ten Hag's doing. He's, like I say, he's owned it himself to get himself fitter and stronger. You see the strengthening this year is being the biggest difference for me. He's not so easy to push off the ball. You see him knocking defenders out the way. When he allied that to the speed that he has, he's a difficult guy to manage, and he's brimful of confidence. He's scoring goals, and I'm pretty sure he'll sign a contract.
In the event that he doesn't leave the club with much option, they'd have to try and maximise the transfer fee, because I think after the end of the season, there's only a year left on his contract, isn't he? The kind of triggered the extension. So how much do you reckon they could sell him for if they had to?
Well, it was
PSG, I think.
PSG guy who came out and said he's the most. I'd check him tomorrow. So if PSG are interested, I think you're looking at 100 million plus, aren't you?
Yeah, I think.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's 100 million plus. It's where you go after the 100 million, and then I don't think it'll come to that. And my gut feeling is it won't come to that. My gut feeling is that he's happy. He just looks like a guy who's comfortable we're playing with Manchester United and happy now. And I can't see any reason why he would want to leave right now.
So assuming that he signs, and then Ten Hag's still looking for a striker to fill that void up top, do you think Harry Kane is the legitimate option?
Yeah. Listen, I don't know how old is Harry. 29 now.
29, yeah. I think he's 29 this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, Harry Kane's a wonderful centre forward. He's going to guarantee you 20 goals a season, isn't he?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know what kind of fee that Tottenham would be looking to get for him right now. But listen, I'm sure he's fed up. A player of his ability not to have any trophies in his cabinet is tough.
It's got to be draining.
With that. Sorry?
It's got to be draining on him, you'd imagine. He's
absolutely, you're looking at,
looking at sort of the back end of your career, no trophies in the cabinet.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing. You've got to, at some time. I mean, listen, he's tried to do it. He tried to force a way out of Tottenham. Was it 2 seasons ago? And apparently he had a word of honour from the owner, the chairman, that he would let him go if he ever asked to leave. I'm sure that rankles with him as well, that he did ask to leave and they wouldn't let him go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I listen. If he's going to do it, he's going to have to do it now. And my gut feeling again is that he probably will. I mean, he's, as I say, the Tottenham seems they look like Manchester United did last season. Can get the odd result, can get a result that might go, oh, wow. But then the next week they're getting beat off whoever. And as I said, I don't think the conjecture about the manager helps an awful lot. That he's not happy. So yeah, if he doesn't leave this year, Harry Kane, then he's also 30 is a big moment in players' lives. You're on the way in probably when you sort of get that age. Maybe it might be a little bit different now because of fitness and what have you, and you're getting more out of your body than you used to with sports science, and maybe you do stay a little bit sharper and fitter longer because footballers now are more like athletes than they probably used to be in my time. But yeah, if he's he's coming up 30 and he hasn't won anything. If you walk away from a career and not winning anything, wow,
yeah,
that's a tough one to take for somebody of his ability.
Yeah, it's going to haunt him. Obviously, you were a centre back in your playing days. Harry Maguire was praised after the win over West Ham by his manager. How do you think he's looking at his future at the club?
Oh, yeah, that's a toughie. I'm sure he wants to play. He's saying all the right things. He's the captain of the club. He came out and said a couple of weeks back that the managers said I'm a part of this. I'm a big part of this. I feel like I'm helping. I'm the captain. I want the team to do well. I'm ready whenever he wants me. That it's a different mentality nowadays. It is more of a squad game. If I would probably left out, or players I played were left out for lengths of time, and when you're not in that first 11, it's tough to take, and you'd probably be thinking, I need to get out and go and play games. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, he did really well in the Euros for England. He's had a tough time of it, and I've been in that position where people are shooting you down at Manchester United. I had it in the early part of my career, and it's tough. You feel, you feel a bit isolated, I guess. And he's had a tough run. I think Harry Maguire is a top centre half. I think it's been a tough season, a tough year for Harry. But I really don't know what he thinks about not playing in the big games.
Especially when he's seeing his side concede 7, maybe he'll be thinking,
now's
my chance.
Yeah. Listen, what does Eric do now on Thursday? Do you know what I mean? So you look at that and give them a second chance. Go on. You just let the club down.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Go and redeem yourself. Have you got that fire in your belly? Because that'll tell him a lot about characters, I guess.
True.
Or do you say, right, no, I can't have that. I'm going to make changes. I might go fairness. He'll still go with most of the setup that was there. That mostly have done well for him. But yeah, I mean, he's got options there. Lindelof, Maguire. I don't think they've let the club down at any time they've come in this year. But I think it's plain for everybody to see that Varane and Martinez have worked exceptionally well together. That silk and steel, which we've seen over the years at the club, I think is generally worked really well for the club. So I think he will stick with them on Thursday.
We've spoken about potential incomings to the club in the summer, but potential outgoings as well. Mason Greenwood's been linked with Turkish clubs for a loan move. Do you think that's a viable option, or do you think the club are still looking at? No. Fair enough. He needs to go somewhere and get some playing time if he's not going to be playing at Man United, you'd imagine. But it depends where that is. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Okay, in terms of, all right, how about a hypothetical question? If you were a manager of Real Madrid, would you try and sign Bukayo Saka or Marcus Rashford? Who'd be top of your list?
Oh, wow. I hope they don't sign Marcus Rashford.
Well,
that's a real toughie.
Both great players.
Bukayo Saka's been exceptional, hasn't he, for Arsenal in assists and goal scoring. As I said, Marcus Rashford's in the form of his life. If you're Real Madrid, you probably want to buy both. I don't know. I mean, I don't know who plays on there. I don't know a lot about Real Madrid these days. I know Benzema's still scoring goals for him. So, and the 152 at Anfield. Huh?
He's getting on a bit, Benzema now.
Yeah, he's getting on a bit, yeah. Listen, I think any top team would love to take them, the two players. Yeah, but a selfish point of view, I hope they're more looking at Bukayo Saka.
He's not life for Arsenal though, isn't he? So imagine he's in a.
I can't see. Honestly, I can't see him moving. I think he's. Why would you do it when you're playing in the form that they're both playing? Why would you want to move?
Yeah.
And then find a new teammates, find a new. I mean, you don't know whether you're going to particularly enjoy living out in Madrid. Foreign language. It's not as easy as people may think. But yeah, listen, they're both lighting up the Premiership at the moment, aren't they? So it'd be very hard to choose between the two, because I think when you've got pace and the ability that can match to the pace, I think they're two very dangerous forwards. So yeah, they would light up the La Liga as well. So. I can't see either of them moving.
Speaking of forwards, Cristiano Ronaldo obviously left the club in November. And do you think it's obviously not a coincidence that the mood at the club improved dramatically and then results improved dramatically? How much credit do you give Ten Hag for the way he handled that? And also, do you think that has had a big impact, just Ronaldo leaving and the clouds sort of departing over the club?
Yeah, I think it's had a positive effect, and that's no real slight on Cristiano, because he's been an incredible player over the years. And I was reading something today on about was it probably the time to leave? Yes, it probably was, because I think maybe Manchester United needed more from their centre forward, but he was leading goal scorer last season, scored 20 odd goals in the season, and I mean we've missed that. I think if we were a team that was young and energetic enough, you could still have Cristiano on the team and he would still score them goals. But we were in a different place when he left. And is it any coincidence that the teams became better? Probably not. So you'd have to say that was the right decision, because the team have been so much better since then. So did he handle it well? Yes, I think he did. I think he said all the right things. We'll never know what was exactly going on behind the scenes, and how Cristiano was in the dressing room. I'm not privy to that. But yeah, he you know what I mean? I think he came out of it really well, Ten Hag. And it's just a shame it came to that sort of interview, I think, because I didn't really think there was any need to do it.
Yeah, it didn't make for kind of good publicity for the club as a whole, did it? But
no,
sometimes you got to go through the storm to get to the other side.
Yeah. Listen, big players have left Manchester United before. Big players in the prime have left Manchester United before.
Jaap Stam,
Ruud van Nistelrooy, David Beckham.
True.
You know what I mean? You lose big players, you lose big personalities, and the club moves on. And you've got to have a manager who's tough enough to make them decisions. And I think Ten Hag has, is. I think he's shown that he doesn't shy away from big decisions. He won't be cowed by anybody. He won't, he won't back down. And I think that's what you need. I think you need that kind of leadership. It's something Salek's always talked about. He's the guy who makes the decisions. There's only one man at the top. There's only one manager. People can have voices in the changing room, but he has the last word and whatever. And I think that's important for that. You know what I mean? That you get that leadership from your manager. And I think that's what he's brought.
Do you think signing Weghorst was a bit of a risky move, seeing as he's not a goal scorer, hasn't really done a lot since he's arrived? Is it gonna will he attract?
He needed to bring somebody in, and it's always a difficult window, isn't it? Yeah. The transfer window over Christmas period, and he knows him. He's worked with him, and he felt as though he couldn't do a job. So I think it. I don't know where we go from here. I thought he played well in a Carabao. I thought he did well. Was it West Ham was the last game?
Yeah.
But they were probably two of his better games. Is he the answer long term? Can he be a squad player? I don't know. We need a centre forward that is going to bring us goals. As you say, he's not. I don't think he's going to do that. He's not going to get us 20 goals a season.
Ten Hag's obviously raided his former club for Martinez and Anthony. I think he did kind of give his word that he wouldn't go back and kind of strip the squad bare. But United have now been linked with Mohamed Kudus, another Ajax player, attacking winger slash striker. Obviously, a pacey goal scorer is someone that they need. How much do you know about him? Have you seen him play?
I've not seen. I've not watched Ajax, so I wouldn't have a clue. But in general terms, I think he's done well with signings. So you'd have to trust him on that. Certainly, Martinez has been a really good buy. Anthony, I think there's more to come from Anthony. I love the fight and energy that he has. As I said before, I think he still needs to work on that right, but to maybe put doubt in defenders' minds because he's too eager to cut in on the left. But the centre forward is the standout position that everybody can see for United, that we need more of a threat. It is a shame that Martial is injured, because I think he seemed, it's hard to judge by pre-season to what actually goes on in the season, but he did have a really good pre-season. He looked sharp, he looked hungry. It looked as though Ten Hag was starting to get the best out of him, because he's probably had 3 careers at Old Trafford where you think he's done and he's finished and he's not going to be part anymore, and he bounces back and shows you. I mean, he's got ability, he's got a goal scoring threat, and on his day, he's a handful for any top defender. But it's You know, we've only seen it in glimpses. We've not seen it in any kind of consistent basis. So yeah, the centre forward is the number one position.
What's your take on the title race now with Arsenal 5 points ahead? Man City obviously been there, done
it. Yeah, Arsenal look like they're getting the breaks, didn't they? I mean, 2-0 down and scoring in the 97th minute is like, wow.
Yeah, time,
these things can give teams belief, like it's your year, you know.
I think their next away game is at Anfield though, so after just watching Liverpool put 7 past Man United, it's gonna be a tricky one for them.
Yeah, but it depends what Liverpool turns up, doesn't it?
That's true.
That's the thing. They've set the bar again, and if they fall below that, then you know the fans are going to be asking questions. You know, I've been waiting for that bounce back all season from Liverpool, and time again, they've left you thinking, "Wow, what is going on?" So I don't know. This Arsenal side, Mikel Arteta has done wonders. They've got energy, they've got ability, they've got wide players that are a real threat. And this is all without, you know what I mean, for a while, without Jesus, which, you know what I mean, was you know, instrumental in their early sort of season form. So they've got him on the verge of making a comeback now as well. So that's going to add fuel to the fire for the running. So yeah, I think they're a really good side. I think they've got a hunger about them, which reminds you of City at the best, or Liverpool at the best, or United at the best. They've got a good age group there as well. He's made big decisions. You know, the Aubameyang one, was a real moment, a watershed moment, I think, for Arsenal.
That's right.
Where he said, "Right, that's it, done. He's not playing with this club. He's out."
Yeah.
And everybody's going, "Oh, right, there's your goal scorer gone." And yet he's brought people in that it's made it seem seamless. So what, mate?
Did it with Ozil first and then kind of set the precedent.
Yeah, Ozil as well, yeah. But during that period of time, there was still a lot of doubters. But he stuck to his guns. And I think there was people calling for his head last season. Saying, Arteta, he's not the answer. And now look at him, you know. I'm still surprised by some of his antics on the sidelines.
Taking a mickey.
You know, it is. Yeah, I mean, I think he has to take a chill pill at times. You know what I mean, to calm him down. But that's the enthusiasm and what football can do to you. It's tough being a manager. Just been sat with my old mate Tony Mowbray, who's manager of Sunderland, this morning for a coffee.
Oh yeah.
They've just been beaten 5-1 at home at the weekend off Stoke. And he's like, "Paddy, football, you know what I mean?" As somebody said, "Bloody hell." What do you make of it sometimes, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think Arsenal are in with a real shout. Obviously they've got to go to Manchester City. You know, if people are looking at that as though it's going to be 3 points for City after the back of what we saw at Arsenal the other week, and then it puts the title into the mix, doesn't it? But you know, I mean, I think they're an exciting team to watch. I think they've got a real hunger about them, Arsenal, and it's going to be very tight.